Floods have been part of human history since the beginning of civilization, and even today they remain one of the most destructive natural disasters on Earth. Every year, floods affect millions of people, destroy entire communities, and cause staggering loss of life and property. The sheer force of water when it escapes its natural boundaries is something that no human-made structure can completely control. Floods can come slowly, creeping into cities and villages as rivers overflow their banks, or they can arrive suddenly in the form of flash floods that sweep away everything in their path within minutes. What makes floods even more terrifying is that they are not restricted to one part of the world. From Asia to North America, from Europe to Africa, almost every region has experienced the devastating impact of floods. One of the most haunting examples in history is the 1931 China floods, considered by many historians as the deadliest flood ever recorded. Triggered by abnormal rainfall, overflowing rivers, and poor infrastructure, this disaster claimed the lives of an estimated 2 million people, though some sources believe the number could have been even higher. Entire cities were submerged, farmland was destroyed, and famine and disease followed in the aftermath, multiplying the tragedy. In modern times, Pakistan experienced one of the most catastrophic floods in 2010, when heavy monsoon rains affected over 20 million people. Villages vanished, crops were wiped out, and the economic losses ran into billions of dollars. Similarly, Bangladesh and India, with their dense populations and proximity to major rivers, frequently suffer from floods that leave millions homeless and in desperate need of aid. The United States, too, has not been spared, with Hurricane Katrina in 2005 unleashing destructive flooding in New Orleans, exposing how even developed nations can be brought to their knees by the sheer power of rising water. What makes floods so deadly compared to other disasters is their unpredictability and frequency. Earthquakes and volcanic eruptions happen less often, but floods strike with alarming regularity across the world. The speed at which a flash flood can form leaves little room for preparation. In mountainous regions, heavy rainfall or sudden glacier melts can turn calm streams into raging torrents within hours. Urban areas face another kind of danger. When heavy rains fall on cities with poor drainage systems, water quickly accumulates, flooding streets, homes, and businesses. Unlike cyclones or hurricanes that can sometimes be tracked days in advance, flash floods often come without warning, and by the time people realize the danger, it is too late. The aftermath of floods extends far beyond the immediate destruction. Once the waters recede, the real struggle begins. Contaminated water supplies often lead to deadly outbreaks of diseases like cholera, malaria, and dysentery. Food shortages become common as farmlands are destroyed and livestock are lost. Families are displaced, and entire communities are forced to rebuild from scratch, often without sufficient resources or government support. Economically, floods are devastating. On average, floods cause around $80 billion in damages worldwide every year. Roads, bridges, schools, and hospitals collapse, cutting people off from essential services. For developing countries, such losses push economies back by decades, trapping millions in cycles of poverty. One shocking fact is that floods account for nearly 40% of all deaths caused by natural disasters globally. The sheer reach of floods explains this statistic. While earthquakes and volcanic eruptions strike specific regions, floods can cover vast areas, affecting multiple towns and cities simultaneously. In countries with large river systems like the Nile, the Ganges, or the Mississippi, floods can displace millions at once. The force of water is deceptive. It takes only 6 inches of fast-moving water to knock a person off their feet, and just 2 feet of rushing water is enough to sweep away a car. Many people lose their lives because they underestimate the power of floodwaters attempting to cross submerged roads or staying in low-lying areas too long. The science behind floods is both fascinating and alarming. Climate change has played a massive role in increasing their frequency and intensity. Global warming causes polar ice caps and glaciers to melt at a rapid pace, leading to rising sea levels. As oceans expand, coastal regions face greater risks of flooding, especially during storms and cyclones. At the same time, higher temperatures increase the likelihood of extreme rainfall events, overwhelming river systems and drainage networks. Urbanization has made the problem worse. With more cities built on riverbanks and wetlands replaced by concrete, natural drainage is blocked. Rain that once seeped into the soil now collects on roads and pavements, creating dangerous urban floods. Experts warn that if current trends continue, floods will become even more severe in the coming decades, threatening not just poor nations but also wealthy countries with advanced infrastructure. Despite technological advancements, humanity is still vulnerable when nature unleashes floods. Dams, levees, and flood barriers provide some level of protection, but even they can fail. The tragic collapse of levees in New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina showed that engineering cannot always withstand nature's fury. Satellite systems and weather forecasting have improved, giving some communities time to prepare, yet flash floods remain difficult to predict. Rural populations, especially in Asia and Africa, often receive no warning at all. By the time floodwaters arrive, entire villages may already be lost. Surviving a flood requires quick thinking and preparedness, Experts advise that at the first sign of a flood warning, people should move immediately to higher ground. Many casualties happen because people underestimate the danger and wait too long. It is crucial to avoid walking or driving through floodwaters, as currents are often stronger than they appear. During floods, electric poles, loose wires, and submerged roads become hidden threats. Families are encouraged to keep emergency kits ready with essentials like safe drinking water, food supplies, first aid, and flashlights. Governments and relief agencies often stress that clean water is the most important resource during a flood, as disease outbreaks from contaminated sources kill almost as many people as the flood itself. Floods also have long-term environmental impacts. They erode fertile soil, destroy crops, and alter entire ecosystems. Sometimes floods deposit rich silt that can benefit agriculture, but more often they bring sand, debris, and chemicals that ruin farmland. Wildlife is also affected, with animals drowned or displaced from their habitats. In regions where deforestation and poor land management are widespread, floods become even more destructive, because the land cannot absorb excess rainfall. Despite all the destruction, floods have also shaped human civilization in unexpected ways. The annual flooding of the Nile in ancient Egypt, for example, provided fertile soil that sustained one of the world's greatest civilizations. But while controlled flooding can be beneficial, uncontrolled floods are almost always catastrophic. This paradox highlights the delicate relationship humans have with water. It is essential for life, yet when it breaks free of boundaries, it becomes a force of death and destruction. The question remains whether floods are truly the deadliest natural disaster. Statistically, floods have killed more people than most other disasters combined. However, their slow and often predictable nature sometimes gives people a chance to escape, unlike earthquakes which strike instantly. Yet, when floods strike suddenly and massively, their death tolls can be horrifying. The truth is that floods are not only deadly but also unavoidable. No matter how advanced technology becomes, we cannot stop rivers from overflowing or rain from falling. The best we can do is prepare, adapt, and respect the power of nature. As humanity moves forward in an age of climate uncertainty, floods will continue to be one of the greatest challenges we face. From ancient times to the present day, floods have shaped our world, destroyed our homes, and reminded us of our fragility against the forces of nature. They stand as both a warning and a lesson. Water, the very source of life, can also be the greatest bringer of death. Whether in the form of a creeping river flood or a raging flash flood, the impact is the same: lives lost, dreams shattered, and nations forced to rebuild from the ruins. The story of floods is ultimately the story of humanity's struggle to survive against a world that can change in an instant. And as we ask the question, are floods truly the deadliest natural disaster? The evidence throughout history suggests that the answer may very well be yes.